How can you hire sales managers in a record time? That is what we are going to discuss today because we at CareerBee did exactly that for one of our clients. And today I will have a conversation with our recruitment lead, Luca, so that we can figure out how something like that is possible. I'm so excited to talk about all the insights. Hi, this is Laura, and you're listening to the CareerBee Talks podcast, where we share all the newest insights on the recruiting world from both sides, the candidate perspective and the company perspective. Let's jump right in.
Thank you so much, Laura. I'm very happy to share also about this very interesting project. We just finished it up, so it's super fresh in our memory. So I think it's very nice that we're already recording the podcast about it. So happy to share some details. I'm happy to share details, except for the name of the company, so that our listeners have to have to forgive. But yeah, also happy to set the scene a little bit. The company is operating in a space. It's called telematics. So maybe some of our listeners don't know. So I'd just like to briefly explain what it is. It's basically in between IT and automotive, meaning that the newer cars, right, the more modern cars, they have kind of like mini board computers. That's how I envision that. And those can collect data, communicate. And yeah, that's like a field that's basically in between like hardware and software then within automotive.
Very interesting, also very technical, which adds a little bit of difficulty to the recruitment process because now we need to find people who also have this affinity and this skill set to be able to, do sales in that area. So let's start very much at the beginning. What did you feel when you first reached out to this client, or in this case, the client reached out to us? The first conversation, how did you manage in that one to get all the important information out to make the process efficient later on?
Yeah, it's a very good point. I think it's important to say actually in this case, the company actually reached out to us, so found us online and on LinkedIn and our website. So there was already a good base for discussion, and we quickly set up the meeting on the next day after the first message. And the good news here was I quickly noticed like the company share a lot of value with us also. They're very fast moving, very direct, very transparent also what they need. And usually we have kind of like a catalog of questions, right, that I like to ask, especially for sales. I must say, this is usually where I have the longest questions because I need to have very good knowledge about all the conditions, the salary, the bonus scheme. Is there a company car? This was actually an interesting point of discussion because as this company was an international company and German salespeople, they really value the car that they drive, right? Of
Right.
course, as a car nation. And so, yeah, what was really good in this meeting, I think it took like 45 minutes. We discussed everything. I had a clear picture about, first of all, of course, what type of sales they are making, and then also the company culture as this fast-moving company. And it was evident from everyone that I spoke to in this meeting. So everything they said, kind of like on the text level, also showed up then on their own actions and on their behavior level. So I had a very good feeling what type of person would fit with this company.
And maybe let's put just a little stop here because I think what you said is so important for other companies out there who are in the process of, working together with a recruiting agency or like trying it on their own. It's very important that you are clear on what you're looking for and then also have very like a process established that will allow this process to move fast, because we do know like the best talents, they will not wait, not for you as the, even if you're a very cool company, because there are so many other companies wanting them as well. So it's very important that you know who you want, so that as a recruiting agency we know whom to look for and where to look for that person. And then on the other hand, to have a process that will make this very fast and efficient. And I think it's very good, Luca, here again, that you mentioned that we as a recruiting agency have a catalog that allows the company to reflect on those important questions when maybe a company hasn't thought of those things. So there's like many important insights on what you just said. But let's move to the next step. So what happened afterwards?
Yeah, so afterwards we immediately jumped into the search, or better to say, I immediately jumped into the
Right.
search because we realized, okay, this first of all, it was multiple positions. We had a good understanding also about the conditions, payment terms, and stuff like that. And we realized for us also, okay, they are fast moving, right? So there needs to be a high urgency from our side. The good thing about the scheduling was I had a little bit of time in my schedule and I was able to prioritize them. So directly, I think we had a meeting on, I think it was on a Wednesday, and then on a Thursday I could already get started. And if you've been a regular listener to this podcast, you know what we do. And also in this time, salespeople, a best channel for that is always LinkedIn. Of course, you can also look at other channels, but there's no other network like that. And the good thing with sales is always that salespeople are active on LinkedIn, right? They use that sometimes even for their own acquisition, for their own job. So they spend time there, they are active, they are responsive. And most of the time, a good salesperson, hey, if you have a good offer, they are open to listening, right? So yeah, we immediately mapped out LinkedIn as our main source here. And then next, I usually spend my time saying, okay, what is the offer actually in this space, and who do we want to attract, right? So we don't want to attract, in this case, maybe a person wanting to work in a corporate setting where all the structure is given and you just need to execute. No, we need someone who can analyze also the market. It's a new market they are moving into and have this openness and like maybe building something growth mindset. So kind of like wrote, I usually try to write like a rough draft of a reach out message, how it could look like based around that. Nowadays, you can also have ChatGPT with ask there to help you with some of the wordings. Maybe I think I did it with the search as well. Kind of like just refining the message. You can even ask ChatGPT, "Hey, can you give me feedback on this message? What do you think? Does it attract who I want to attract?" Right, and then it gives you a very detailed answer. It's pretty great. And yeah, so then after that, did a few searches, sent out a few messages, and already had, I think, 5 conversations scheduled after just a few days.
Hmm. And again, here, like many interesting things that I say, you just say so naturally. But I think for somebody who's not that expert in the recruiting field, many important things to really listen to on what you just said. And the first thing was that what you, as an expert for sales positions, also in very technical fields, know is who is the target group, where is this target group active, how active are they, when should I send the message, what type of message should I send, and of course using AI and technology to support that process and make it even better. But you go from the knowledge you have gained because you have worked and reached out to so many salespeople. And I think that is the advantage of working with recruiting agencies, to be 100% honest, because many times in-house recruiters have to be experts in so many different areas, which at the same time means that you cannot be an expert for one specific field. And I think here we see someone who's clearly expert in one target audience. And this is, again, very important for companies to always keep in mind. You know who you want, yes, but now you need to understand how can you attract that person to your company. You now need to get into the mindset of that person you want to recruit before you even start the process. And I think this was very important to just highlight, because you just said all your expertise very naturally, and I think for many
Sorry.
people it's not. No, and I think
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah.
I hope I also don't like talk too fast and put too much info into it. Yeah, it's right. It's something like built over the last 7 years of doing this, and
Right.
I think I try to at least like verbalize that the process is in my head, but I realize that sometimes I'm also assuming, yeah, this is just how you do it, right? But it's not natural. So it's great
Right.
that you highlight that that as well. And thank you for the flowers, so to say, as we would say in German. Danke
No,
für
of
die
course.
Blumen.
Of course. Well, now, how much time has passed? So you mentioned on Wednesday we signed the contract, and now you started the search. How much time has passed since until the first, answers came back to you from some potential candidates?
Yeah, that's what I also love about sales is like you get answers. So I'm sometimes sitting there, like you get answers within an hour sometimes
Oh,
if
wow.
you have a good offer. If you have a good offer, that's always. I thought this was a kind of like attractive situation also for a person. So we had a really good offer. I also have to say this, and then my job was to translate this good offer in a good recruiting message. And yeah, no, you get answers sometimes within the first hour, within the first day, definitely, and then usually takes us let's say there was a weekend also involved, right then by the next week could schedule some calls with the candidates. That's something, and again, that's something I often assume, but I know it's not standard. I get this feedback a lot. We do pre-screening calls with all of the candidates, and yes, of course, these calls are also for the candidates in the sense of that I'm going to share more information. I'm going to explain the position, explain the growth opportunity, explain all the details. But at the same time, I'm also playing the role of an interviewer. And if I don't like what the candidate is telling me, if I don't have a good feeling, if I feel the relationship is bad, they are treating me already poorly, well, then I know how they're going to treat other people as well, maybe. And sometimes that happens. So I'm kind of like the first pre-screening institution in that sense. And this brings for the company that after I've done these calls, some candidates I didn't forward because I did not like how it looked, even if they were interested. Some candidates maybe realized in the call, okay, I'm not interested. And then in the end, you have kind of like a short list of, in this case also, and usually it's 3 to 5 candidates that we really like, that are interested, and yeah, also fit with what the company needs, and those get forwarded. And this is then what I really liked about this company. I've sent them, I think it was on a first day, next week's first day. So it took us 1 week to get to this level. I did all the calls. I had the resumes in front of me, edited them a little bit, and then handed it in after 1 week. And then I get an email on Friday afternoon. Thanks, Luca. All the interviews scheduled for Monday. And
Wow.
this was it. This was insane to me. You are laughing now, also, Laura, because you know, and
Right.
people maybe who work in recruiting agents, like this is definitely not standard. Especially in Germany, I'm used to having to follow up with the companies about profiles that I send. I usually do the scheduling, and I'm happy to do it. I have no problem with it. But again, it takes a little bit of time. So I have to ask the company for slots. I have to ask the candidates for slots. And in this case, I get an answer within 24 hours saying the interviews are already scheduled for the next possible date on Monday. So this was insane to me. I've never had that happen. If potential clients are listening, hey, if we can do it like this, perfect. That's how we can work together really successfully. That's how recruiting should be, right? So
Right.
yeah, that's really great to see. So the effort I put in was also, how they say, like paid back in a sense by the company.
And now let me just, before we go like into now the success part of this whole process, come back to some of the elements you said, because again, there was so much information in them. So the first thing, which I found very interesting, and again, this is a big wake up call for companies who are looking to figure out which agency to work with. I mean, you told us that you only had one call with this company beforehand, and that call probably wasn't that long. And now you were doing interview or screening calls with potential candidates to not only learn about the candidates, but to also sell and position the company and the job there. And I think that again talks about this expertise that you've acquired on asking the right questions during a short call so that you can do this. And again, this is something that you should look out for companies, recruiting agencies, when you work with them, because they become an extended brand of yourself, right? So if you're working with someone that is not interested in your company, they will not sell your company the right way, and you might be losing potential leads, amazing talents that could work for you. And I think this again talks so much about your passion for really doing a fantastic job for the companies we work with. On top, later on, you really mentioned like the screening call per se, right? So here you go from the perspective as if you were the recruiter of that company, right? You become kind of like an in-house recruiter because you want to ensure that every candidate that you forward is someone that you would also be willing to hire for that company. And again, this shows how much we care about the people we work with from both ends, right? Because you also said, I care about the candidate being like this the next right step for them, and then I care about the company to not have to interview people that they don't even like or that will not fit eventually. So I think here again, the people focus that we put in CareerBee super prominently throughout everything we do again shines through and allows you then that when you sent that email with the candidates, of course the company reacted amazingly and it's really a dream client for us. But on the other hand, the candidates were so good that they also felt comfortable to do the interview so fast. So here it shows about very good communication skills from both like client, but also from us as a recruiting agency to listen to the needs and understand the needs and then find the right people. So I think that was very important to just mention before we now go into the success part of it all. So we had an interview going on Monday, which would be like 1.5 weeks after we
I think
started.
at this point we are at 1.5 weeks. So they immediately wanted to do 3 interviews. I think, forgive me if I maybe, no, I think I have it correct. In the first round, the first kind of like email that I sent in this case, it was 3 candidates and they wanted to see all 3 because, as you said, the candidates had all that they wanted. And also in this case, what I sometimes like to do, this was kind of, one was maybe a little bit more on the junior side, one was mid-level, one was senior. So they can kind of like see, okay, this also reflects in the salary expectations and stuff like this. And then they can make the best informed decision. In this case, they said, okay, let's interview all 3, which again is a big statement about also the quality and that they really like the candidates. And with the theme of fast moving, so they did the interviews immediately. And then I think even the second round interviews, they wanted to go deeper with 2 of the 3 candidates after the first batch. So one, in this case, actually the most senior person, did not really fit what they were doing. They felt more comfortable with the other 2. And those were, if I remember correctly, scheduled then for the end of the week for our second round.
That's so amazing.
Interview. So really fast moving. Also then, of course, on our side, scheduling with the candidates, making sure that it works for the second round interviews. I helped a little bit with them finding the and to keep with this theme. Actually, the what I really liked about this role is like they did not only have one position available, and the second round interviews also showed, oh, we really like them both, right? And the good news then as well was that both of these candidates were in different locations, had a little bit of a different experience so far, and then we went like, hey, you know what? We want to potentially hire more than one person anyhow, so let's go with both.
Nice.
And really, both of these candidates got an offer then. So this is then, if you're now working into week 3, this is where the candidates then got their offer. I communicated with them. We had to do a little bit of negotiating, but nothing major. All the expectations were quite clear from the start. Then by the end of the week 3, we got everything signed. And so from start to finish 3 weeks, 2 new sales managers. And then even the best part, one of them can start immediately, I think 2 weeks after contract signature, and the other has, I think, a 1 month notice period. So also not that long of a wait time. So company very happy, candidates very happy, we very happy.
Right.
It was really a great success story and one of the most fun recruiting projects.
Yeah, and I love that we're talking about it because this is such a good way to portray not only how we work when we work with someone, but also how good it can be if both sides work together as a team to achieve that specific goal. And because, I mean, in the end, as a company, you do want to find, especially salespeople, as fast as possible because they will help you grow your company. So the longer you wait, the more potential you're wasting. We know like every day counts if you're a business. So having this great success story can be such a good inspiration for other companies to see how can we improve our recruiting processes. Who do we want to work with if we work with a recruiting agency that can fit the processes that we've established and that can help us be better as well? So I think this was a really nice example to talk about, Luca, and really great job.
Thank you so much. I want to highlight maybe one thing. You called it, I think earlier you said our people focus, right? I think maybe we could also say like really what separates like a high level recruiting agency, a high quality recruiting agency like we see ourselves from the what I sometimes say the CV dealerships. So and I think what we see in this process is first of all, and while we are talking about it, quite clear became clear to me is like it is not standard. It's not always that a recruiting agency even has a kickoff meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, how can you recruit without having a kickoff meeting, especially if you don't know the company? Like, I would like to get to know you. I need to understand how you work, how you are, and what type of people fit there, right? So really maybe highlighting is kind of a summary of our podcast episode today. If you go with a recruiting agency, then please do it in the correct way. Take a little bit of time researching good agencies, not just take all the names that you know on the street, and especially those bigger ones sometimes where that no one has time to conduct like a kickoff meeting. You maybe don't have time to conduct a kickoff meeting. You need to take this time, otherwise it's not going to be successful. And then also fast moving. this is really a success factor also here. It just shows candidates so much commitment also from your side. Every time you go for a recruiting and interviewing process for candidates, there is some uncertainty. There is some insecurity. Like, I don't know the company yet, so I don't know what it's like working there. Is that the right choice for my career? And by moving fast, you show a lot of urgency, and this gives a lot of trust to candidates. So yeah, in kind of like a summary, this would be my takeaways. But maybe Laura, do you have some other takeaways?
No, I just to highlight what you just said, because I felt the same, but now I came to a realization, which is why I love having these conversations, because so many times people ask us like, oh, are you headhunters? And I've never felt comfortable with that term. And now I understand why, because just the name, headhunter, right? Hunting heads, that doesn't fit our philosophy of how we work. We're not out there to like hunt and just get as many heads in, so to say, just to use this wording. We're really about finding the right person. And that doesn't mean having to write like 100 people and handing in 100 people, but just selecting the top of the top for that specific company. And I think that's really what we do, because we do it so passionately that we really want to be very high quality in whatever we do. And high quality in this case means also high quality service for both ends, because we are in the people business, and I really am very happy to be in this specific business.
Yeah, very interesting with the naming, because I also don't feel comfortable with these terms. And people always, when they ask me, "Oh, what do you do?" and then I explain. Usually, I don't use a title. I explain what we do, and they say, "Oh, yeah, you're like a headhunter." I'm like, "Yeah, kind of."
Right.
You got it, but yeah, I wouldn't call myself that. So maybe that's also a good question for the audience. If you want, put it in the comments. Like, what do you think? What do you think is a good descriptor for what we run as a recruitment agency? Would you still call it headhunting? I read today the term, or I thought today about the term talent advisory, which I kind of like, but it lacks a little bit the and we also do. Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, we advise you. Yeah, yes, there is definitely some advisory involved, and shows, I think, the consultative approach that we take, but it lacks the done for your service, and you get the candidates right in your inbox. You don't need to do anything than just to schedule the interviews and tell me what you need. Those are the two things you need to do. Talk to me what you need, and then please schedule the interviews as fast as possible once you have candidates.
Absolutely.
That's the only things I cannot take away and do on your behalf. But everything else, like, we do it on your behalf. Yeah. So maybe also that search firm, I also don't like. Yeah. So if you have some idea, audience, feel free to comment wherever you are listening or watching this. And
yeah, for sure. No, final thoughts would just be, if you are in the process of trying to recruit, sales managers or other like engineers, because that's also our expertise. And we will leave the link to Luca's profile in the show notes, so you can directly DM him. But we will also leave his email in there, because I think for companies who listen to this till this point, you might be very interested in really at least hearing out how we could move together to find you the best talent. So make sure to reach out to Luca, and we would be very happy to start this process ASAP. Have a wonderful day, and thank you, Luca, for this amazing conversation.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you are a company who's currently looking to expand their team with amazing talent, make sure to check out our website, careerbeat.io, to learn more about our recruiting services and how we can help you find the best candidate for your open roles. On the other side, if you are a candidate who's currently looking to find a job in the US or Germany, make sure to explore our website, careerbeat.io/talents, to see how our masterclass and our additional career services can get you to find your dream job. In any case, you can always reach out to our team via the email team@careerbeat.io. We are so happy to continue sharing many more insights around recruiting and job searching.